Right, jet boots are on. This is version 2 of the end cap. The first one I was planning to use the piece of acrylic. This is version 2, version 1. So the idea was there's space for ESCs there, one either side of the heatsink. I was worried about the heatsink not being big enough. So and then an Arduino up the back, and then that's just this one here is just debouncing and pull-up resistors for the doofer rotary encoder, and then nice, the ESCs just plug straight onto this Arduino Nano expansion board thingy. It was going to have a cover on it like so to keep all the Arduino goodness good and stop, because the battery is going to be here and they might move about a bit. I might even have to pack them out so that the like a bit of foam or something at the other end to squash it in. Other ideas of putting a couple bits of wire around here and wiring them up the Arduino, and then just having like a mag pull up resistor and have one of the wires grounded, and then kind of a way of leak detection. So if the voltage goes high on that pin that's around there, you know, water is conducting between the two wires, as an idea. So this is how it was going to go, like that, with a cover over the top, and then all the Arduino goodness, all the ESCs, and then have the through-hole connectors on the acrylic. And this time on the acrylic seemed to be good to 100 meters. I need to check my tests again. But yeah, I decided to jump ship because there was no way to hold that in. I was thinking possibly a bayonet connector, but then space for the heatsink was a bit short, and there wasn't much space to work, and it was just getting a bit messy. So that one's out just now. Might come back to it. I'm onto this printed one. So it's like a 6-hour print. Seems to be good. Just used the same dimensions as for this one, and it seems to smog down okay. Just printing it out with effectively zero compression on the O-ring, and then the plastic shrinks it as it shrinks as it's printing, to allow a small amount of compression, so you can still get it together and apart without having to do pipe pulling yoga. But aye, this is looking good. And then there's a space in here, slot, that'll take an aluminium sheet that'll go down in there, that'll mount the heat sinks to. These wires I might need to kind of route underneath or on top, or part them or something to be able to get them in. And then there's a couple of holes left for the one for the dry connection to the rotary encoder, which is just that 10mm shallow pitch brass tube that goes in there, and then there'll be an O-ring around the top that will squash down. I need to get a slightly fatter one actually. And then the other side is going to be like a vacuum port for setting the O-rings. So the idea is pump out the air just with one of those hand vacuum pumps for like bleeding brakes and stuff. Just ordered a new one because the one I've got is way too cheapo China, and the non-return valve's leaking, so difficult to test. So yeah, so it'll just be a hose valve coming out of there at the moment, and then I might try and get a little quarter turn valve, would be nice. But yeah, I don't know, like one of those brew taps just now, maybe just to hold the vacuum in. I'll just turn that off. So pump out the air, turn the tap so it stays a vacuum inside, and then we should be able to test as well if all the seals are working. Should be nice. This isn't actually threaded, it's just a kind of close print. I might ream it out a little bit so it just slides in, and then we don't need to twist all the wires when we're undoing it. So I'm just going to treat it with acetone just now to make it waterproof and a little stronger. The print was pretty good actually, I'm pleased with it. So this model I've made it the dome 5mm all the way around the dome section, and obviously it's a bit meaty around here. Does look a bit like a bell end, but hey ho. Loose connection, I just dunked the camera and the screen went off. Probably the flat flex is going to the screen. Got a flicker when it started up, so maybe, yeah, power connections to the screen, I guess. I'll put that on the list and it might get done one day. So just acetone. Make sure that we get the O-ring seat. A bit of crud. Wonder if I should be worried about transdermal absorption of acetone. I'm sure I should be wearing gloves. I'm wearing safety goggles. And maybe a pillow on my head just in case I fall over. I'm worried about the fumes from the printer. I'm wondering if I should put a chimney on. And then just have it run into the loft with no air pump in it. It's going to be a bit warmer, so the convection of the hot air would take the fumes out without creating too much of a draft inside the printer that's going to affect layer adhesion. That's pretty good. Ooh, it feels stingy on the cuts, man. Fuck. Just waiting for that one. I might come back to that bit in the middle. Looks like it's only missed one layer or something when it was bridging that gap at the top, which is a lot better than the last one. There's quite a lot of fuzz on the last one. So I'm hopeful this will be even stronger than the other one. Got my grubby fingerprints on it, man. So I'll just leave it in here for about half an hour. That'll make the surface all gooey, and then there was a few bits where the surface is separated along the print lines just due to thermal contraction while printing. So hopefully it gets soaked in by capillary action, and it'll sit a bit longer there, melt more plastic, and then kind of fuse the layers back together. This one I didn't do full printing on the borders. I actually just done 3 borders, and then it's got a wee bit of back and forth infill, which seems to make the part nice and strong and kind of sticks together, because every time it turns direction it kind of leaves a little extra blob, which is then mixed in with the next layer, so probably better. Extra, turn and oop. Bit to produce vapor. Now if I was keen I could heat it up, but it should be alright. Back in half an hour. Awesome! Shiny goodness! Let's see, hopefully there's no extra stuff hiding inside there, and it's got some holes there, so the inside shouldn't get too melty, because it does kind of run. And it stays gooey for quite a long time afterwards. You need to make sure it's all evaporated and the plastic's gone hard again before I start messing with it. So that you can squash it and misshape things, and even the pressure of seating the O-ring is enough to shift the shape of the plastic. Cool, right. Put that someplace warm and see what happens. Random 3D print of the day. So this is a chuck adapter. I bought this spike for the lathe. Focus, hello. But yeah, it doesn't fit in there, in the 4-jaw. I was kind of hoping it would fit in a standard 13mm chuck, which I also got for that would screw on. But it didn't fit. So instead of buying the proper thing, I just thought I'd print an adapter. So it's a conical spike. It slots in there like so. Jam in with force. This one, the first print, Actually, I was trying to print something, maybe those battery holders, and I had turned down extrusion by 20%, so this is only 80% plastic and 20% air in theory. Actually, the interesting thing, it actually fits in slightly better. So I'm guessing this is shrunk less than this one. This one's shrunk more because it's more solid plastic, but I don't think that'll be a problem. That will squash in and it'll just be a lovely tight fit. Probably won't try and get it out once it's in, but I guess I could knock a socket in there to chap it out if I need to. That's probably usable. You might see it might settle down once I start using it. That little bit of movement kind of works its way to the plastic. I also didn't spend long cleaning it up. Nice, that's definitely usable. Gotta watch out for those scary teeth. Interesting result here. So I thought it was just my vacuum pump that was leaking. So it's not holding vacuum. I assumed it was the pump, but this end cap is leaking. You can see it's actually coming through the print, which is interesting. So I put soapy water on the outside of this O-ring seat. So I assume it's coming under the O-ring, I guess around this. It doesn't seem to be coming through the face seal between the acrylic and the O-ring. It must be going around the back of the O-ring and then coming through the print and about halfway up that wall. Maybe this is a flaw in it. It's actually coming through the print. It might be related to there's one there, one here, maybe one there. So it is soapy water, so I'm pretty sure it's somewhere on the seat of the O-ring. But it's coming, yeah. It might be related to these holes, because I think I drilled these holes afterwards, after I'd done the print, and after it was treated with acetone. So it's possible when I hot pressed these in, I opened up a flaw and an air gap, so it's sucking. It could be sucking the water in round the fitting into the body of the print, and then through the matrix of print lines, and then coming out through there, which is interesting. I'll try the other one first, and then maybe I can retreat this with acetone. Here's the redesigned end cap. So we've got Arduino Nano in there and the shield, and then we've got our 3-hole ports for the wires, one for the encoder, and a vacuum port as well. And that looks pretty good. It's pretty pleased with it. It feels pretty solid. So I'm hopeful that'll work. We shall see. Thanks, Printy. Looks like it's time for some new Kapton tape. This one's peeling quite badly. New plastic. When you roll of plastic, it's kind of almost translucent, which is interesting. It's an odd feature there that wasn't in the model. Don't know what's happened there. But yeah, holes are smaller. The print is pretty nice. I like it. Yeah, smaller holes will take the smaller inserts, brass inserts, so there'll hopefully be less problem with it. The air escaping down the side through the model. So yeah, a lot more solid than it was. Just to make it printable. Yeah, schmeck, I like, right? Let's make it shiny. Weird. So this is the toolpath. I just changed it to 2 layers, 1.4mm thick, and with a 0.7mm nozzle. That should be 2 shells on the outside before it does the infill back and forth. And there it actually fills in the gap. Or if you put it back on the 3 shells that I had it on, for some reason, 2.1mm, it leaves a gap around there. So what's it in this inner shell doesn't go around the corner. So maybe it thinks that that gap isn't worth filling or something. Who knows? Yeah, a bit disappointing after waiting 3 hours, 20 minutes for it to print. It didn't bother printing that. So I might do it again. I'll see how this one turns out. Awesome. This one looks a bit better. Yay, managed to print it all. So I increased these hole sizes to 8mm and left a little bit more gap in the bottom for so when I'm hot pressing these inserts in, there's a bit more space for the plastic to go, so I don't wind up with a big ball of plastic underneath which stops the insert going in to the holes. Should be good. And this is what happens when you leave it in the acetone too long. Gone all boiled sweet. You can see the horrible bubbles there, and there's bubbles around the outside. Acetone too long, and I also put it above the stove to dry out, which was a mistake, too hot. I guess it forms a skin, and then the skin bubbles as the acetone underneath boils off. And you get horrid bubbles in it, man. And yeah, that void was just totally filled with acetone, so it just went all horribly gooey in it still. Soft is a soft thing, so that was a fail. This one looks good. Print it all. Treat that in acetone, and I'll try not to forget about it this time. These thrusters are based on the print props, with the little brushless motors turning all printed components with a pivot up to a belt strap. On the belt strap you have the speed controller, which is a rotary encoder, magnetically coupled. And in the battery housing you got the battery pack. There's a magnetic switch at this end, and at this end you have like a little Arduino Nano with some of those ESC speed controllers that generate a 3-phase AC to power the motors. It seems to be ready for testing. The magnetic switch works pretty well. Had to add a delay actually in the code to give the ESCs time to boot up before inputting the calibration stuff. It'll be fun. I might also add a delay at 0. So if you're going one direction, when you go down to 0, you got to stay at 0, or it'll pause at 0 even if you turn it more negative. And then if you keep turning it, yeah, after you stop for like a second or half a second, then you keep turning it, then it goes the other way. So you got like a positive stop. And then if the whole thing goes psycho on you, you just pull out the magnets that trigger the reed switch inside the pack. Seems to work pretty well. Printed a little, well, bent a little acrylic back plate there just to take the webbing for the belt, and also running behind there is the webbing that holds the end caps together. On the back we just have a big old ratchet strap, because that's what I had. And inside the battery pack, and then the magnetic switch, which is just a reed switch. Take a tap off the battery, and that powers the bank of FETs here, which connects the low side. And then the other side just has a pair of the DX60 connectors that go to the ESCs. Also powering the Arduino that's in there, just with the back circuit on the ESCs. Kind of fits in quite neatly. Notice these brass inserts make quite handy little thumb screws as well for stackable stuff. And here is the The ESC is mounted on a piece of aluminium just to help dissipate some of the heat. And then there's a few extra wires left in the through-hole connector, which will hopefully be for battery connections. I would say we put some FETs in here controlled with a magnetic switch or something that turn on connections to the center points on the batteries and the ends for charging. So when you come out of the water, you don't need to crack the case and get possibly contaminated with water to recharge the pack. You can just slap the magnet on the outside and then hook up the charger, and then just solder on some lumps of brass or something there and seal them so that they aren't live when you're diving, but when you put the magnet on they become live, and then you can effectively connect through to the battery without opening the housing. Hopefully we'll get to test it soon, and we'll get to see how it works. British weather is turned a little on the cold side, so I'm not super keen to jump in the water without a dry suit on. So it happens when it happens. Cool. Thanks for watching.
The bit that says why you don't take a key out. That's fish draining.